Donald Trump was already having the worst week of his campaign, marked by what many are calling the most disastrous debate performance in presidential history. As if that wasn't enough, a new scandal involving Laura Loomer has only made things worse for him. But somehow, Trump managed to escalate the chaos even further tonight with one of his most bizarre, rambling speeches to date. It's remarkable, considering how high the bar is for Trump's off-the-wall behavior, but he still managed to surprise everyone, even his most devoted followers, by completely unraveling on stage. At several points, Trump's speech left his audience in stunned silence, a clear sign that even his cult-like base recognized he had gone off the deep end. Tonight's spectacle was just another glaring example of how far Trump has fallen, and we're going to break it all down. But before we dive into the clips, if you haven't already, please take a moment to leave a like on this video and hit that subscribe button. It really helps support this channel and means a lot to me. Now, let's get into the first clip from tonight's shocking Trump meltdown.
You get the questions? You think? So I hear she got the questions, and I also heard she had something in the ear, a little something in the ear. No, Kamala, do this. Say it this way, Kamala. Okay, be quiet. Too many people watching.
Donald Trump's coping mechanisms following his debate loss have taken quite the downward spiral. First, it was "I won the debate." Then it shifted to blaming the moderator. And now we've hit rock bottom with wild claims that Kamala Harris had the questions beforehand and was wearing an earpiece. The levels of coping from Trump are almost comical at this point. He's visibly angry and unable to accept the loss. Deep down, he knows he lost, even if he'd never admit it. That's why he keeps bringing it up, dwelling on it nonstop. Trump's inability to move on is evident in everything he says and does. Just the other day, at a rally in Arizona, he thanked Pennsylvania instead. He's still stuck in that debate night in Philadelphia. It's clearly bothering him, and it's all he can think about. What's even more telling is how much Harris's mockery during the debate got under his skin. You can see how it continues to haunt him in his latest comments. His reaction is a reminder of how deeply this defeat has shaken him.
We got Kamala.
Donald Trump is clearly struggling to move past his anger from the debate loss, and it shows in his bizarre behavior. The odd hand movements, the lashing out. It's all part of his inability to accept how badly Kamala Harris got to him. He's just finding new ways to vent his frustration, but it's hard to tell what exactly he was going for with those gestures. If anyone has an idea of what that was about, feel free to comment because it's still a mystery to me. What's even more telling is how deeply one specific attack from Harris has stuck with him. It's as though she hit a nerve, and now Trump can't stop replaying it in his mind, which is evident from how often he brings it up. It's no surprise that he's resorting to these weird outbursts and gestures. He's rattled and can't hide it.
Or she would say, she's weird, she's weird. You know, that was another soundbite they made up about JD and myself. No, we're solid people. We're very solid. We're very solid people. We're not weird. They're weird. How about the vice president? How about the vice president?
Donald Trump's rambling speeches often circle back to his frustrations, and it's no surprise that he keeps bringing up Kamala Harris and Tim Walz calling him weird. It seems to have struck a nerve, and rather than denying it effectively, Trump's attempt to talk about it just makes the label stick even more. His failure to articulate why he thinks Harris and Walz are weird only adds to the confusion. Harris and Walz's focus on infrastructure, education, and healthcare seem to be the opposite of weird. They're about practical governance, which only makes Trump's obsession with the word more perplexing. As Trump becomes increasingly fixated on his debate loss, it's clear that he's struggling to move past it. This desperation, laced with strange accusations, is making it even harder for him to stay on message. His continuous need to revisit the topic shows how much it bothers him, which he couldn't help but demonstrate yet again in this latest clip.
Meanwhile, every time they interfered to fact-check me, it turned out that they were wrong and Trump was right.
Donald Trump just can't seem to let go of his debate performance, repeatedly bringing it up even when it's clearly not working in his favor. It's puzzling why he would choose to keep revisiting what was arguably the most humiliating moment of his campaign so far. Whoever is advising him whether it's someone like Laura Loomer or another figure, seems to be steering him in the wrong direction. You'd think he'd want to put it behind him, especially since he's already been avoiding the idea of doing another debate. Yet, he keeps digging deeper into his own embarrassment. And, as if that weren't enough, Trump had one of his classic Freudian slips during a recent speech, something we've come to expect when he's on these rambling tirades. This particular moment was especially entertaining given how chaotic things have been for him in the past few days. Let's take a look at that clip.
Job numbers were looking like, where the hell did all those jobs come from? You know where they came from? Somebody's sick brain, that's where they came from.
This reminds me so much of that awkward moment when Mike Johnson was at Mar-a-Lago with Trump. I can't even remember what they were talking about, but when Johnson said, "We have to prevent hardened criminals from coming into our country," and pointed at Trump, it was too funny. It's like when Trump said someone was sick in the brain and pointed at himself. The unintentional irony is priceless. I always say this: the worst thing Donald Trump or J.D. Vance can do is open their mouths. Both seem to have the same condition where everything they say instantly backfires. Trump avoiding another debate makes total sense. But honestly, I hope he does another one just for moments like this. Everything he says just implodes, like the moment I mentioned earlier where he rambled so far off track that even his MAGA supporters were left speechless. You could see the confusion on the faces of people behind him, and the usual laughs were replaced with awkward silence. It was so absurd that even his own crowd didn't know how to react.
Hey, where's Harris? They know Kamala, they know Kambabla. That was the nickname I used for a while, but I don't use it anymore because everyone thought I was just mispronouncing her name. I wasn't. Kambabla. But no,
I've talked about this before, and our friend Tim Miller has pointed out how Donald Trump just can't seem to find an effective way to message against Kamala Harris. He's already on his fourth nickname for her, and now he's calling her Kabla. What does that even mean? It's clear that Trump's usual strategy of mispronouncing her name or pretending not to know it isn't working. There was that period when Kamala Harris first became the nominee, and Trump kept saying that no one knows what her name is, as if that somehow made him sound clever. Does he really think pretending not to know who the vice president is will win him votes? It just comes off as strange. It seems more like he's angry, frustrated, and completely out of touch, which keeps showing in his erratic behavior, especially in this moment we're about to see. It really sums it all up.
The hell did we allow this to happen to our country? Likewise, the New York Times, or as I call it, the failing New York Times. It's a failing paper. The Washington Post is a failing paper. Will you fail already? Just get out. They're such phonies. If the New York Times writes a story about you, just go the opposite. If you go the exact opposite, it'll be very accurate. The failing New York Times today reports this vicious Venezuela prison gang is, quote, it sneaked.
He really lost it there at the end, didn't he? It's clear Trump is unraveling. I mentioned at the start of this how unhinged this particular speech was, and I think it's because everything is crashing down around him. The debate was a disaster, one of the worst in recent history, and that disaster might have been fueled by his association with Laura Loomer, who seems to encourage Trump to indulge his most extreme and chaotic impulses. Now, there are even more reports involving her that Trump's trying to sweep under the rug, but it's all backfiring. There's just too much happening for him to handle. He's spiraling, trapped in his grievances, and all that frustration is building up to an explosive point. And we saw that meltdown in real time, especially in this next moment. It's a perfect example of how he's struggling to cope with everything falling apart around him.
She said thank you 38 times. And at the end it was, thank you, thank you. I said, what the hell's... What's wrong with her? I say thank you, and you wait a couple of seconds. You say thank you again. You say, come on, let's get going. Thank you one more time. She's 38 times. Thank you. There's something wrong with her, okay?
If you're wondering why Trump keeps fixating on Kamala Harris's DNC speech, let me translate the Trump speak here. I think it's because during that speech, the applause was so thunderous that Harris couldn't even begin speaking. Trump is clearly still bitter about it, especially after Kamala's remarks mocking his small crowd sizes. It's something that he's always obsessed over, and he just can't let it go. This constant fixation on crowd size is another reason why Trump is unraveling. Kamala Harris knows exactly how to push his buttons, and he's incapable of moving past these grievances. This unraveling will likely continue, and we're going to keep covering it here every day. If you want to support the show, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you've stuck around until the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. I appreciate your support, and until next time, I'll see you soon.